In the mountains of southern Vermont, there's a stretch of forest where people simply disappear. Some were hunters, some were hikers, one was a child, and one actually vanished from a moving bus. Searchers found no bodies, no final trails, and no clear answers. Only a mountain that kept its silence. If you like dark stories told at midnight, feel free to subscribe because it's midnight somewhere, and tonight I have a story for you. Now, the area is known mysteriously today as the Bennington Triangle. It surrounds Glastonbury Mountain, which is a remote, heavily forested region in southern Vermont, and the terrain is very, very thick with undergrowth. It's filled with sudden ravines, and it's wrapped in very unpredictable weather. And for the most part, it's largely uninhabited, even today. Now, between 1945 and 1950, multiple people vanished in and around the same mountain. Each case on its own was very disturbing, and together they became something else entirely. On November 12, 1945, a 74-year-old hunting guide named Mitty Rivers was leading a small group near Bigford Hollow. Rivers had spent his life in the woods. He knew the terrain, he knew the weather, and at one point he walked just a short distance ahead of the others. They followed moments later and he was gone. No sound, no struggle, no explanation whatsoever. Hundreds of volunteers searched for 8 days, and they found one spent rifle cartridge, a small scrap of cloth, but they never found a body, any blood, a place that he could have fallen, and after those findings, his trail simply ended. Now, 1 year later, on December 1st, 1946, 18-year-old Paula Weldon left her college dorm for a short afternoon hike on the Long Trail, and multiple witnesses saw her walking into the forest, wearing a bright red jacket and moving deeper toward the Glastonbury Mountain, and she was never ever seen again. It became one of the largest search operations in Vermont history. There were state police, there were military personnel, there were aircraft, there were tracking dogs, and they searched for weeks and came up with absolutely nothing. No clothing, no belongings, no remains, and her disappearance was so disturbing that it directly led to the creation of the Vermont State Police. And still, to this day, no explanation was ever confirmed. Now, in December 1949, 68-year-old James Tedford boarded a bus travelling towards Bennington after visiting family, and passengers later confirmed that he was seated during the whole ride. He was still there one stop before Bennington, but when the bus reached its final destination, Tedford was completely gone. His luggage remained in the overhead rack. No one saw him exit, nobody heard him move, and nobody could explain where Tedford went. Then, in October 1950, 8-year-old Paul Jepson vanished from the family's farm near that same mountain. A nanny stepped away from the truck only for a couple of minutes, and when she returned, the boy was completely gone. And searchers found no footprints. They found no signs of any sort of struggle, and they also found no trail leading into the forest. It was as though he'd just been simply removed from the landscape. Now, not long after young Paul's disappearance, Frida Langer, who was an experienced hiker, vanished near Glastonbury Mountain. She was hiking with her cousin and she fell into a stream. She was wet and cold, and she told him that she'd go back and change her clothes and then she'd return once she'd changed, but she never came back. 7 months later, her body was found in an area that had already been searched multiple times over, and there was no clear cause of death ever established. Now, authorities investigated each disappearance separately, and they found no confirmed links, no verified suspect, no single environmental cause that explained them all. Each case remains officially unsolved, and no formal explanation has ever been proven. Now, over the years, due to all these disappearances, explanations have included southern weather exposure, accidental falls into hidden ravines, medical emergencies, rare criminal involvement, and others have spoken of very strange conditions on the mountain, unusual disappearances, very odd compass behaviour, and a feeling among locals that something about that place doesn't feel right. But none of these ideas have ever been proven, and Glastonbury Mountain has never offered any sort of answers. So, mysteriously, we have one mountain, 5 vanishings, and no final certainty. People walking into the woods, and some of them never being seen again. What truly happened inside the Bennington Triangle remains completely unknown. As always, if you've got theories or thoughts on the strange disappearances in the Bennington Triangle, I would love to hear them down in the comments. And if you like dark stories told at midnight, make sure you subscribe because I release new mysteries every single week. And until then, I'll see you at midnight.